Good afternoon, friends. This is emerging so beautifully. It's sort of blooming. A closed bud seems to be blooming in all its glory, not only rectifying the misunderstandings or the um, wrong interpretation, and as a result of which lot of stress has been created, that is getting released in the emergence, in the automatic emergence of revelations through Michael Brown and Sir Nicole Harris. Both one going through the experience and the other expressing it so beautifully. Here, let me refer to the stress that we are all facing in day to day life. Man today finds himself in a very unique situation. He has to respond and tackle a variety of complex issues as he goes about his day to day life. It's a restless age, an age where rapid changes in technology is causing breakdown of the old values and fragmenting our personality. The result is stress and tension. Happiness eludes us, and we are constantly seeking answers. In the name of religion, people from different countries and communities are waging a war, not only between themselves but amongst themselves. So, the self realization is where we come in. This self realization through energy body, the pranamaya kosha in our body. As we saw, there is annamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha, which means the food sheath, the mental sheath, the intellectual sheath, the energy sheath, and the bliss sheath. So all these are intertwined with each other, and in that intertwining complex organism that we are, if we are able to touch those parts at the at and use our sensitivities as well as the mind consciousness matter, we can heal ourselves by ourselves. So, while Sahaja Yoga is a technique which was introduced, it was left just sort of introduce and then left to yourself. So that's where, because after introducing, if even when someone else ignites that energy or invokes that energy within you, that energy travels, and it travels within you in the nervous body, in the the neurological pathways, and whatever it encounters, that you will have to tackle it by yourself, because for each individual being it is different. So that's where, so how does that cause stress? Because where the dormant energy is there, which is inborn within you, is awakened, and it is connected to the other nervous energies in the nervous energy in the body, it will create stress. The stress can be anything such as fear, anxiety, worry, apprehensions, anger, and even excitement when we are faced with difficult situations in life, whether it's mental, emotional. Continuous efforts have to be made on a day-to-day basis. So for that, we need to be totally alert, vigilant, and aware. So that's actual awakening is maybe just 1/100th of the issue, but once it is awakened, that it is the awareness that will make us evolved and get overcome all the stress, diseases, and everything that we face in life. So some stress is good, because when you work under stress, your capacity should be above that stress, so as to be able to overcome the stress and give results. Work in a way that your action will give results. So that's called a stress threshold. So stress threshold is the point where any more pressure will become counterproductive. It is the point where more pressure will lead to a fall in productivity and contentment. This point differs from person to person. We cannot say that 20 degrees is an ideal threshold. No, each one's person's level of the capacity to bear stress is differs. It differs according to his upbringing. It differs according to the position he's occupying in society, the challenges that he had faced in the past, the challenges which is required to face in the present, and so many other factors. So some people can sustain very high levels of pressure, while some thrive. In fact, some thrive on stress. Like if you go to the stock exchange, you will just see they are literally on their toes. Means they may not be out there, but they are in that kind of stress boiling point. So if they, and actually they thrive on that stress, because even small 0.01 basis points, if it moves, that's what boosts them up. So, and but then many suffer enormously, because if your nervous system cannot handle that level of stress, it will break down. That's why we find many of them suffering from blood pressure, heart attacks, and everything else. So even with moderate amounts of stress. So there are fairly fixed stress thresholds levels for activity and inactivity. At one end there may be inactivity, but then the other end there will be activity. So when is stress harmful? By itself, stress can never be harmful, but it will create problems if you cross that threshold, and if you do not have that stress bearing capacity. That's where the problems will come. So when does the alarm bell ring? In the face of a challenge or a threat, the nervous system is highly stimulated. Heart rate increases, muscles become tense, and breathing becomes fast. The body system is now ready to fight or flee. Then there is resistance. If the cause producing the stress continues, the body chemistry adjusts to the situation. Initially, it will adjust to the situation. Okay, if you are working on the counter or particularly in cash, then there are high stress levels. So you don't even go out of that cabin where you are given. So means as long as you are in that cabin, you're able to sustain that stress. But the moment you come out and your body relaxes a bit, there is that tuning and coming out of that attunement. So it's a body chemistry that adjusts according to the situation. And not only that, it also affects the flow of adrenal glands and other glands secretion, and in order to keep the body at a more easily maintained level of arousal during the time needed to fight or get away. That is when you're facing challenging situation. But if the challenge continues for a very long time, the resources for arrival, that is arousal, the capacity of the cells to generate that kind of strength or the resource for bearing that stress, then it will resist. They are involuntary physical responses to stress for which there are built-in mechanisms. The body will resist further addition to stress. That is, it will either collapse, or it will it will affect the body movements in the body. By way of that, it will restrict your movement. So all these, in these ways, the body responds to it when you put it through more stress. So there are of course there are a number of ways of relieving stress through breathing, relaxation, music, even exercise is a good release. Even if you go and do a good workout in a gym, it results in a big release. But even while doing the workout, there are people who have died after doing a workout. So that means you have exceeded the capacity of the body to bear that level of stress on it. So that's why frequently we need to take breaks. That is, we need to rest in between and get in tune with where your body is, where the energy in the body is, how, whether it's balanced, whether it's to the left, whether it's right, whether it's to whether it's evenly distributed, how heated it is, or how cool it is. So you need to I remember Dr. Arun Apte used to say the air conditioner should not be outside, it should be within your body. That means your AC, internal AC, just like you have your GPS to navigate. We need an internal AC system which will adjust the internal temperature in the body. So while we are using these various methods and techniques for relieving stress, etc., using meditation, we need to also observe a breathing pattern and how we can use our breathing to quieten the mind. By merely observing the breathing, you will see that it becomes rhythmic, as we saw. If you count a certain number for a certain period of in a rhythmatic fashion, your mind quietens down almost to a thoughtless state, and then one aspect of the mind, which is a witness, that emerges and it observes the mind counting. So there you have that Sakshi Bhava that gets developed. And when you develop that Sakshi Bhava, and it may be 10 minutes every day, 10 to 20 minutes every day. But when you develop that Sakshi Bhava as a strong muscle, then even when we are doing other works, other activities, you can see it. You can see yourself doing that activity. So that's when you become the observer, and then when the observer becomes the observed, there's a merging of the two, then your karma or the action that you do will not have any side effects, in the sense that it will not create bondage, it will not create attachment, it will not create the ability to attract you towards that. That is, you will get, while you're doing the action also, you will be able to be detached, because as an observer you are detaching. But when both the union happens, when there's a merging, the action becomes fulfilled. At the same time, that attachment does not happen. So then you're not pulled by the desire to perform, like an addiction type. Like even activity, many times out of habit, you just can't get rid of it. So activity also can be addictive. So we need if you are able to maintain caution, you are if you are able, not caution in the sense that there's a fear element in caution, but in this it's an observing, consciously observing. You will be able to perform that action without getting attached to the fruits of action, which means it is surrendering the fruits of action, and it's an attitude of surrender. So that is Karma Yoga. So when you do the Karma Yoga with this knowledge, so this knowledge is what? Jnana Yoga. So here I want to just bring in the 7 laws of or 7 roles of knowledge in our action. So this comes in the Ganesh Gita. Like, I'm just amazed at the beautiful way this interaction is happening between these channels on YouTube, as it is applying these techniques or the spiritual knowledge given in the Ganesh Gita in reality, in real life, and it's leading to just every day it's subliminal, it's going to the next level. So here when King Varuna, the first chapter contains the whole of the Ganesh Gita. All the steps are given in the first chapter, but from second chapter onwards he goes on dissecting each stage. So here in the second chapter, King Varenya is asking, is having a doubt. Now, which is better? Jnana, in the Jnana Yoga, you say that when I practice with the knowledge, I develop single pointedness of mind. That is, I develop concentration, I develop focus, I can become single pointed. But then if I have to do, then it is conflicting with I have to do actions. If I have to do actions, means my attention will get diverted. Then how can that be justified? So there is a duality here. So he gets this doubt. So in that only Ganesha, Lord Ganaraja Prabhu, that is his own son. Now King Varenya's son Ganesha, Lord Ganesha born as King Varenya's son, he himself teaches this Ganesh Gita to him. So in that context, there's an explanation of how to maintain this while having the knowledge of surrender. When you do the actions, means you should not give up the actions, saying that I'm into Jnana Yoga, so I can't do Karma Yoga. So you need to do Karma Yoga, because it is only through Karma Yoga that your backlog, the prarabdha karmas, that is previous lifetimes of negative or the residues that are remaining, those will get exhausted or those will get used up, and which is for which we have taken this birth. And so we need to do both. So the duality of karma and jnana yoga results in the steadfastness of mind and intellect, thereby preventing from the possibility of falling down. Even though you may attain heights of divinity, there is a there is every not divinity in spirituality, you can say. In spiritual progress, you may attain certain levels, and there is a likelihood of falling down when you don't do both. Means you only give up one for the other. So the exasperation of Varenya was due to the temporary delusion due in the understanding. So he wanted to know as to how they are complementary and nurturing to each other. So here we go into, so that's why Ganiraja Prabhu says, surrender all actions to me. Therefore, as there is awareness, all actions continue naturally. So duty is not the means. This is the characteristic of the animate. That is, anyone which has a body, actions has to happen. Actions will always happen. All actions that are surrendered to me get merged into me. So when they get merged into me, you are not there. So that is, you as a ego, I am doing, that thing will not, that gets dissolved. And so even when the doership is not there, the results also will not affect you. The results maybe have to be reaped because you are the physical body, but it will not adversely affect you. You will be indifferent or you will be equanimous to it. That is why you will still feel, even though you may be engaged in that particular action, but you will feel liberated after the conclusion of it. That is why the sadhak is said to be liberated while living. His destiny ordained karmas continue. He will continue to do the actions. Since the sadhak merely observes and performs all the actions in the witness state, the workings of the powers of Siddhi and Buddhi. That is why in the Indian mythology, we have a way of assigning deities to each of these powers. While otherwise we may just say it's an action. But then Siddhi is that desire entity and the Buddhi is the intellectual entity. So both of them, both the work in synchronicity, and there is an absolute self-knowing. That's where knowledge and knowing merge. So the state of the sadhak, so in that state, the state of the sadhak is virtually incorporeal. That means he is not in an embodied state. So he is like non-existent. In that it's an energetic state. That is where he is. So that will be almost equivalent to saying inanimate. So that's not having a body. So even though he is in the body. So when the sadhak is engaged in karma yoga, he is the animate form where the body is engaged in the experience. Whereas when he is reflecting on it, the sadhak becomes practicing as though of jnana yoga. So these are the when the yogi goes through various states one by one. So while practicing this, he goes through different states one by one until he reaches the state of total non-differentiation. It's called Abheda Yoga. There is no difference between the knowledge and the known or the knowing. That is field of knowledge, the Kshetrajna and the observer. So by observing the reflection through incorporeal, he becomes steadfast in the practice of Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga steadies him, and Karma Yoga steadies him in his bodily experience. These are mysterious arrangements about experiences, and so absence of connection is not the reason for confusion. It is a lack of viveka buddhi, lack of discrimination in your awareness between consciousness of that which is external to the body and harmonious connection with the internal Atma or soul that creates a doubt in an intellectual sadhak as to whether I should do karma or leave it. So dharma of the body is action. The natural tendency of the body is to action, and so it is necessary to do that. So then he says, so in order to understand, when it is natural for the body to act, you should know the role of sacrifice. What is the meaning of sacrifice? So to know that, have the knowledge of what means sacrifice. If we say sacrifice means, we say either give it up or leave it or don't do, or means that is like giving up the action, whereas we are supposed to do the action. But what do you mean by sacrifice while doing the action? This was what was given in by sage Yoga Vasishta to Sri Ram. The path of knowledge, which is given in the book Yoga Vasishta. This was in the conversation between Sage Vasishta, who was Guru of Sri Rama. He says there are 7 steps of knowledge for attaining this total Yoga Siddhi. So the first is, he begins with instructions on auspicious desires. Means a sadhak should do deeds that enhance the purity of mind, consciousness, matter. That is the chitta, the mind. This will enable, or chaitanya, this will enable him to perform his dharma ordained karmas in an attitude of surrender to Brahma or to the Lord. The moment a desire arises, even if it be for a fraction of a second, he gets agitated and wishes to engage. So if any bad action or any wrongful action happens, even mind gets agitated. So he will only engage in those actions. He will discard the other actions and do those actions that will be giving him permanent happiness, that will lead him to liberation. So that's where the viveka buddhi comes in, that discrimination. What to hold on, what to give up. So he holds on to subjects that are liberating and makes efforts to gain knowledge about them. So this is the first type of knowledge, that is contemplating about the various states of Brahma. That's states of Brahma means states of the beingness of the divinity, beingness of the Supreme. So by learning the deeper meaning of the scriptures. So remaining in close proximity to a Sadguru is the means by which a sadhak tries to use the tools of spiritual practice which are conducive to attaining liberation. This is the second role of knowledge, known as vicharana or inquiry, when he is in close proximity or has ability for communication, means communicating with the teacher, then he can make inquiry, ask about the doubts and get them clarified. That's the second role of knowledge. Then the strength of the spiritual practices opens the eye of wisdom. So that's the third role of knowledge that comes when the eye of wisdom is opened and one is blessed with discernment that assists one in attaining the 8 types of siddhis. Ashta siddhi navanidike data, asavaradina janaki mata, as Sita bestowed the 8 siddhis on Hanuman when Hanuman came to Lanka to just inform her that Rama is coming to take you. So those are the 8 siddhis of yoga. She blessed him with all those siddhis. So then this is the third role, that is opening the eye of wisdom and getting that power of discernment. This is the third role of the path of the divine ascent. And it is also known as manasa, or a sensitive mind with faculty for deep thinking and reflection. When one practices a single pointedness of the mind, there becomes the yoga sadhak, the person who's undergoing the seeker, attains chitta shuddhi, that is purification of the mind. Mind means not only mind, consciousness, matter, that substance with which, that is the illumination of the intellect in the mind, and it becomes extremely subtle. This is known as Tanumanasa, meaning a mental state that thins out the mind consciousness matter, making it extremely subtle and depleted of all impurities. So, in the end, the sadhak starts restraining tendencies of the mind. Then, when he starts getting the power of concentration, the sadhak gets an experience of the bliss state in that samadhi or meditative union. In that meditative union, when he is in union with his spirit, his spiritual body, then he gets the experience of bliss. Bliss means it is a state of extreme calmness where it's blissfully calm, we say. So it is then that he gets complete control over all differences and non-differences and becomes capable of regulating them. So these roles are classified as the pure tendencies, absence of attraction, absence of material feelings, and the state of pure consciousness. Then the fourth role of knowledge is called Sattopatti. That is, it is accomplished through Karma Yoga, resulting in actualization of Asat Swananda Brahma. That is, Asat means the untrue, that which is not true. This is called Asana Shakti, the Shakti or the power of clinging to the knowledge. That is, even though we may have a knowledge, we have that knowledge itself may cling to us. So that is the fourth role. That is, we need to get the knowledge of becoming aware of that clinging aspect of knowledge. So then that yoga enables the yogi to go forward into truth. So this asana shakti is the power of the power of stability of the intellect without external wasteful attractions, which is the fifth role of knowledge. Then the sixth power of knowledge is Padartha Bhavini, that is, which helps in the actualization of Vaishnava Brahma, that is Pada Artha, that is the status quo, the state of beingness, which is equanimity for Vaishnava Brahma, that is that stage or the state of being of equanimity or indifference or samabhava, equally in all situations. Then this is the stage of Samayoga, and then you have the glory of Shiva coming into aspect, which is the Sahaja Brahma. So the Sahaja Yoga which we are talking about, that is far away from the actual Sahaja Brahma, where in the stages of divinity or in the spiritual progress, the ascent that we are getting, it is the power of pure consciousness. That is a Turiya state. That is, Turiya is the unmanifest state, which is the seventh and the last role of knowledge. So these are the 7 roles of knowledge that was described by Yoga Vasishta to Sri Rama. So here the role of knowledge ends because the knower and the known become one. And the sadhak attains the siddhis of the 7 roles of knowledge and achieves a breakthrough into a state of pure consciousness of the divine. These 7 roles of knowledge formed the essence of the book of Yoga Vasishta. Thank you so much for being with me. See you later.